After enduring savage torture at the hands of my deceitful twin sister, she seized our family's estate and tied the knot with my boyfriend Liam. On the seventh day following my demise, she dragged Liam to my burial site, shamelessly flaunting their romance right by my grave. She even commanded people to exhume my remains, pulverize my bones into ash, and torment my spirit. Now, I'm left to wander this cemetery endlessly, unable to reincarnate. During the engagement feast, I stood atop the stage on the third floor of a luxury hotel, threatening to leap off and end my life. By doing so, I forced Liam to call off our engagement, and with tear-filled eyes, he agreed. Suddenly, I stepped on a loose stone and began to fall uncontrollably. As I plummeted, I saw Liam jumping after me, racing to save me from my descent. When I regained consciousness, I was lying in a hospital bed. Damn, that bitch Winnie had a rough time. She didn't even perish from that fall. At least half of her scheme worked. Speaking up were exactly my beloved sister, Mia and Daniel. Memories from my past life flooded back. I had been reborn. In my former life, Mia couldn't win Liam's heart, and Daniel, aiming to inherit the Howard family fortune, conspired with her. Mia underwent plastic surgery to resemble me and posed as my long-lost twin. I partly bore responsibility for my sister's disappearance back then. Guilt-stricken, I followed every command from my found sister. I bought into the lies that Liam had a mental disorder and needed long-term medication to manage his condition, and that none of his family staff had ever been mistreated by him. Under Daniel's sweet talking threats, I even threatened to take my own life. Even my act of jumping off the building was orchestrated by Mia, who assumed my identity after my death. Ouch. Pretending to be woken up by pain, I weakly glanced at the two people beside my bed, who were flirting without giving Winnie a chance to intervene. "Winnie, you're finally awake!" Daniel eagerly reached out to hold my hand. I feigned raising my hand to cover my forehead. Daniel puckered his lips and smiled, before awkwardly pulling his hand back. "Sis, it's awesome you're awake." Mia looked heartbroken, tears streaming down her face like a dam bursting, crying so pitifully. She appeared innocent, like a pure first love. Even with her mistakes, no one could bring themselves to blame her. No wonder she plotted against me in my previous life. "Winnie, are you feeling okay?" Daniel tried hard to force a smile, gazing at me affectionately. Looking at his face triggered all the painful memories from my past life, filling me with a surge of disgust. I'm no longer the old Winnie. Winnie? At that moment, the ward door swung open. My mom arrived just in time. I was stressing about how to ditch Daniel since it wasn't time to break things off yet, and I hadn't figured out my next move. Looking closely, I saw someone standing outside the ward door, not coming in. Probably, it was Liam. Selena touched my gauzed forehead, crying, "Winnie, you're finally awake." In my past life, I had insisted on ending the engagement, causing a scene at home. After surviving the fall, I fled and died on my way to elope with Daniel. When Dad heard about my death, he had a heart attack and passed away shortly after, and Mom also died in a car crash engineered by Mia. Thinking of this, I threw myself into Mom's arms and cried bitterly, shouting hysterically, "Mom!" Selena felt even more uneasy seeing me like this. "Sweetie, stop crying. It's okay if you don't want to marry Liam. At worst, your parents will support you forever." While saying this, Mom kept glancing at the door. "Mom, this fall made me realize a lot. I've made up my mind. I'm ready to marry." As soon as these words left my mouth, both Selena and Mia were momentarily stunned. Aria is such a wonderful girl. Only someone exceptional deserves her. But seeing that Liam leapt off the building without hesitation to save me and even broke his leg shows he's someone trustworthy. "I get it." I nodded obediently. I had forced Liam to break off our engagement by threatening to jump, but he didn't hesitate to save me. It was the same in my previous life. I was so blind I couldn't see clearly. Mia realized the situation was bad and quickly stepped forward. "Winnie, did I ask you to speak?" Selena looked very annoyed. She had been in the business world for decades and knew Mia's little tricks better than anyone. Strangely, although the two sisters looked identical, Selena just couldn't like this long-lost daughter. Winnie didn't like Liam at all. Her agreeing to marry was probably just for show. A fierce slap landed on her face. "Mom?" Mia's face went numb as she subconsciously covered her face and softly called out, Get out. She thought I would definitely speak for her as usual, but I turned my head and looked elsewhere. Seeing that I wasn't falling for her trick, Mia had to back off, realizing she couldn't gain any advantage in front of Selena. Only then did I notice Daniel had already slipped away. Selena asked worriedly, Winnie, are you really sure about this? Mom, I've thought it through. I was too stubborn before. I know I was wrong. How could Liam, who risked his life to save me, be crazy? I didn't really want to jump off the building. It was someone else. Before I could finish, a headache hit me, and I huddled in Mom's arms for a long time before recovering. It doesn't matter. Mia's reign is ending. This morning was super nice, with the sun shining bright. I've almost recovered. I dressed up carefully and walked towards Liam's ward with breakfast brought by the servant. Liam was sitting on the hospital bed, his eyes fixed on the screen, fingers tapping the keyboard. His handsome profile was flawless. Definitely a man serious about his work is the most attractive. Liam and I met by chance as kids. He was always gloomy, later going abroad to study, and we lost touch. There were also many rumors about him. I heard he was over 30 and kept away from women, which is why I believed Mia's words without hesitation. Morning, Liam. I walked into the ward and placed the breakfast on the bedside table. Liam didn't seem to expect me. A moment of surprise crossed his face but faded quickly. I brought breakfast. Let's eat together. I closed his computer and set it aside. During breakfast, Liam didn't say anything else, just stared at me blankly, like he was watching a show. I knew he didn't believe me yet, but it didn't matter. My first goal after being reborn was to cherish Liam, marry him, and have kids with him. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Daniel walked in at a bad time. Winnie, you made it so hard to find you. Daniel thought I'd still act the same as before, hurting me in the name of love, and that I only had eyes for him. Winnie, what's wrong with you? Daniel saw that I didn't react. What's the matter? I walked towards the door, not wanting him to disturb Liam's peace. Liam and Daniel didn't have a good relationship. Back then, Daniel's mother forced the issue by getting pregnant before marriage, which led to Liam's mother falling into depression and eventually passing away. Half a year ago, Mr. Senior ordered that whoever could marry me would become the future heir of the Ethan family and inherit all the property. Daniel wasn't favored by Mr. Senior in the Ethan family. Marrying me was his only way forward. Upon learning this, he chased me relentlessly. Compared to the quiet Liam, I was naturally more interested in the funny Daniel. Winnie, Daniel hurriedly reached out to grab my hand when he saw this. However, I turned around, picked up a glass on the coffee table, and smashed it onto his forehead with a loud crash, fragments scattering to the ground. Ow! Daniel let out a muffled cry of pain. One hand covered his injured forehead, and the other pointed at me, eyes filled with blatant hatred and disgust. Winnie, what's wrong with you? Did Liam torture you so you're taking it out on me? Looking into Daniel's disgusted eyes, I sneered inwardly. What, decided not to pretend anymore? If that's the case, don't blame me for being rude. I grabbed the teapot on the table and threw it at Daniel's hand, pointing at me. Ow! Daniel's pig-like howl echoed as he was completely unable to fight back. After dealing with him, I turned and threw myself into Liam's arms pitifully. Bro, Liam, he bullied me and you didn't even help. Feeling the soft body in his arms, Liam was stunned for a moment but quickly realized it was all an act. However, his body was more genuine than his heart. The moment I threw myself at him, he caught me firmly with both hands, letting me cling to him like a little octopus. Bro, Liam, I'm so scared, boo-hoo! I buried my head in his arms, talking while wiping away tears. Looking so pitiful, I knew it was fake, but I couldn't lose him again. How stupid was I in my past life to give up such a good man and choose Daniel instead? Liam looked down at me, nestled against him, his face growing a bit gloomier. Winnie, what trick are you trying again? Bro, Liam, I don't want to stay here anymore. I didn't answer his question. I pouted my pink and white lips, even using all my flirty charm. Seeing us hugging, Daniel's eyes showed a hint of confusion, but he kept his provocative expression and said, Winnie, did my bro force you to do this? Don't be scared. I'll help you. Suddenly, Liam felt an intense murderous aura, his body shuddering as he took 2 steps back. He didn't dare look at Daniel, his voice trembling slightly. Winnie, I was just impatient earlier and treated you like this. Please forgive me. His face changed so quickly it was beyond my expectation. I could still clearly remember Daniel's face when he stabbed me repeatedly in my past life, cut off my limbs but didn't let me die immediately, letting me bleed to death, slowly. Thinking of this, I pushed Liam's embrace away and slowly walked towards him. Seeing me approach, Liam flashed a smug and triumphant smile, even forgetting the pain from being hit by me, looking affectionate. "Winnie, I knew you loved me. Dream on." After saying that, I gave him a hard kick in the groin. Immediately, a scream erupted. I looked at Daniel rolling on the ground, my slender eyes showing a scornful smile, then grabbed Liam and left. Watching the backs of the two, Daniel suddenly realized something was wrong. Didn't Winnie love him madly, humbly, and so much she could even give her life for him? Didn't she despise Liam to the core? Didn't she try to escape from Liam's side and elope with him? Why did she suddenly become affectionate with Liam, acting like he was the one she deeply loved? Did Winnie get smarter from the fall, or did she mess up her brain? Suddenly, Liam thought of something. His mouth curled into a sinister smile as he stared intensely where I had left. Liam and I stood in opposite corners of the ward, silently glaring at each other. I looked at his wild and handsome face, feeling a surge in my heart. I had mixed feelings and wanted to tell Liam something, but didn't know how to start. "Liam, I love you." As soon as I said it, I was stunned. Liam stared blankly. The throbbing in his heart was reflected in his eyes, waves upon waves. It seemed like brilliant lights were flashing in his dark eyes, dazzlingly beautiful. In an instant, as if he remembered something, his eyes instantly dimmed. A few days ago, I had threatened to kill myself for Daniel. When he was present, I beat Daniel up. Now I was saying, "I love you" to him. Did I really think he was that easy to deceive? If I recall correctly, tomorrow was my date with Daniel. In my past life, I had said "I love you" to him countless times for Daniel's sake. Every time he believed it was true, and in the end, I always played tricks on him. I was afraid of the dark. When he was angry, he'd lock me in a small dark room with him. I was so scared I begged for mercy in his arms. Liam thought that by doing this, I could stay by his side forever. Last time, when I was locked in the dark room, I even said I'd be a slave. And finally, he softened and let me out. Then I turned and eloped with Daniel. However, one thing I couldn't figure out was how Mia managed to take my identity without Liam noticing in my past life. And how did they get married? Suddenly, Liam stood up abruptly. "I'm leaving." Seeing Liam about to go, I quickly grabbed the corner of his clothes. With my big, watery eyes, I looked at him pitifully. "Bro, Liam, could you stay with me a little longer?" I wanted to make up for what I owed him in my past life, starting by being a good companion. In my past life, besides using his black card to shop everywhere, I never gave him a pleasant look. Liam looked at my pale little face close to him, deep affection churning in his eyes, yet trying his best to suppress it. "Winnie, I love you." His deep, mellow voice carried deep tenderness, wanting to love but not daring to. To say he didn't dare to love was more because he was afraid Winnie would get hurt again. On the day his dad married his mistress, Liam ran away from home. It was Winnie who comforted him, and since then, she often accompanied him. She was like a warm ray of sunshine warming his heart. Liam secretly vowed to marry Winnie when he grew up. This had been his dream since childhood. After a long silence, I lowered my head shyly. "Let's get married, shall we?" Liam didn't reply. Suddenly, something wet fell on my fingers. I looked up to see a red glow in his eyes. Was he crying? Why? Before I could finish my words, he caught me off guard with a sudden kiss that silenced the rest of my words. With the familiar warmth and long-missed taste, I slowly closed my eyes and followed his lead. Liam kissed me forcefully, as if wanting to melt me in his mouth. Who said he had kissing issues? Who said he didn't know how to kiss? He was clearly a pro. Driven by Liam, I couldn't help but respond. I felt like a believer who received a summons and couldn't resist him. Once I was in contact, it was like encountering the strongest magnetic field, involuntarily attracted and enchanted by him. After a tender moment, he let go of my lips and whispered softly in my ear, "If you lie to me, you're dead. My head hurts. Could you stay with me tonight?" I didn't explain but grabbed his hand and pressed it against my face, rubbing his hand like a kitten. I smiled with great satisfaction, showing shallow dimples and looking at him with curved eyes. Never had there been a moment that made me feel so real and at ease. His smooth and tender skin like milk. Liam smiled. Just as he was about to withdraw his hand, I tightly grasped his large hand. I didn't want to let go at all. Liam's eyes were full of confusion. In the past, if he touched me, I'd react with anger and disgust, cursing him like, "Bastard, filthy scoundrel." But now, Winnie was so well behaved, it was unbelievable. She was like a rose that suddenly lost its thorns, without her wild temper and with much more gentle charm of a young woman. Meanwhile, in the corner by the ward door, a pair of eyes watched them. Seeing the two being affectionate, Mia was so furious she almost spat blood. She clenched her left hand tightly, her fingernails digging into her palm. Why has Winnie suddenly become uncontrollable? Wasn't she a sweet and silly girl? How come she's not silly anymore after just a fall? No, she absolutely couldn't get married. The Ethan family property belonged to her, to Mia's, including the Mia families as well. Mia, I put on a fake smile. Sis, you're here? Who is this? Mia pretended not to know Liam. With Liam's stunning figure, powerful aura, and cool, majestic demeanor, Mia was completely mesmerized. Yes, whether it was Liam's physique, looks, skills, or talent, he was far superior to Daniel by hundreds of times. I winked at Liam, and he immediately understood, turning to walk out of the ward. I pulled Mia to my side and joked with a smile, "He's Liam." Sis, you were staring at him? He's Liam. How could you let him hold you? Don't you hate him the most? You also said that even if all the men in the world disappeared, you wouldn't let him touch you. And Winnie, don't forget Liam is a sadist. He's so messed up. Be careful not to get too close or he'll mistreat you. As soon as these words came out, my expression showed a mix of worry, fear, and a bit of being lost. My widened eyes revealed how scared I was at that moment. I clung to Mia's shoulder with a panicked look. Sis, what should I do then? Seeing my panicked expression, Mia secretly rejoiced in her heart. It seemed Winnie was just like that. Easily fooled by just a few words, Mia didn't rush to answer but acted like she wouldn't help, unless begged. The bait was taken. Just when Mia thought I'd complain as usual, I smiled meaningfully, showing I didn't fall for her trick, forcing Mia to stop in time. After all, this was the Mia family's hospital, and she feared there might be eavesdroppers, so she had to make an excuse and leave quickly. I shook Mia's arm and pleaded, Sis, you must help me think of a way. I don't want to marry him. Winnie, don't worry. Sis will help you think of a way. Mia sighed gently, her face showing worry. I know Sis treats me well. As long as I don't have to marry him, I'll listen to Sis and everything. Mia immediately felt more at ease in her heart. Winnie was still that silly girl and hadn't changed at all. She became even sillier after the fall. It seemed that in the future, not only would Daniel be hers, but Liam's as well, and the Ethan family property would be hers too. When she became the young mistress of the Ethan family, she would teach the people in Winnie's family a good lesson. How's it going? Did you find out anything? Before Mia entered the room, she heard Daniel's anxious voice. Seeing Daniel's nervous expression, Mia's eyes darkened. She tried hard to suppress the jealousy and hatred in her heart and walked slowly towards the sofa. Why don't you say something? Daniel was extremely anxious and frowned. Don't tell me you've really fallen in love with Winnie? Mia was extremely angry inside, and when she voiced it, she felt a sour taste in her mouth. Why is God so unfair? Mia not only enjoys exclusive love from her parents, but also has a man who loves her deeply and is handsome and outstanding. As for herself, compared to Winnie in terms of figure and appearance, she was far inferior. Even Daniel had to be shared with Winnie. What's on your mind all day? If my brother takes power in the future, will I still have a way to survive? If Winnie marries my brother, will you still be able to marry into the Ethan family? Daniel is a fake young master of the Ethan family. If Liam or Mr. Senior finds out, imagine the situation he'll be in. Winnie is his only way out, and he's determined to get her. After hearing Daniel's words, Mia thought it made sense and didn't continue to give suggestions. Then you should sleep with Winnie. Once a girl willingly gives her most precious thing to a man, she'll surely be devoted to him wholeheartedly. Do you think I don't want to? But Winnie always says it's not the time yet. I can't force her, can I? In a few days, it'll be your birthday. Find a reason to invite her on a trip. Hearing her words, Daniel was overjoyed immediately. Mia, you're really my lucky charm. Don't say such nice things. If you dare to fall in love with her, I'll make you a eunuch in advance. Would you really be willing to do that? Daniel's fingers slid quietly across Mia's neck, his flirtatious little moves making people blush and their hearts race. The next day, at 8 in the morning. When I woke up, my head was resting on his thigh, and Liam, leaning against the headboard, hadn't woken up yet. I quietly got up and changed into a pink gauze dress. It was pink and delicate, sweet and charming. I was even humming a cheerful tune. Before I knew it, Liam was staring at my back with burning eyes. No wonder Winnie showed her affection last night. Turns out, it was for today's date with Daniel. Since when did she become so despicable as to sell her looks? Winnie, where are you going? Liam gritted his teeth as he spoke word by word. I turned around with countless question marks popping in my head. Was it because I didn't look good in this dress? I didn't take it seriously and playfully said, "Guess." Silly, of course I'm going to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the marriage certificate. But I'm a girl and should be reserved. I can't say at first how capable you are. You can be so despicable just for Daniel. Liam's eyes turned a bit colder, and the anger in his chest flared up. Why was he so messed up? Then I remembered that in my past life, today was the day for the date with Daniel. I was also wearing this dress. However, when I arrived at the place and had just sat down without saying a word, Liam disrupted the situation, and the date never happened. Was his anger because he was jealous? Yes. To be precise, it was because of him. Daniel had nothing to do with it. Before I could finish my words, Liam stood up. He looked serious and cold, staring down at me like a king. Winnie, believe it or not, I'll break your legs because I don't believe it. You wouldn't dare to do that. I did the opposite. I slightly stood on tiptoe, put my hands around his neck, and said with a smile, At this time, Grace, who was standing outside the door, had knocked for a long time, but got no response. The moment she opened the door, an inappropriate scene unfolded before her. She couldn't believe what she saw. The second young lady was hugging Mr. Liam's shoulders and acting flirtatiously with a cutesy voice. The second young lady's behavior was really confusing. Was this still the second young lady she'd known since childhood? Was this still the second young lady who hated Mr. Liam almost to the point of loathing? It seemed she was clearly a little fangirl of Mr. Liam. If it weren't for the identical face to Winnie's, she would have suspected that this person was eldest young lady Mia. Grace held a file bag in front of her face and said in a low voice, "Miss, here's what you asked for." Hearing her voice, I let go of Liam and gestured to Grace. "Thank you. Do I look pretty?" Grace looked me up and down, nodded, and said, "Yeah, you look nice." I opened my mouth, wanting to say more, but was tightly hugged by Liam. At the same time, there was a serious warning in his voice. "Winnie, don't push me. What if I do?" Is this man an idiot? After what happened last night, he still thinks I'm going on a date with Daniel, does he? Suddenly, Liam reached out and grabbed my wrist tightly, then pushed me hard against the wall. His tall figure loomed over me, creating an extremely tense atmosphere. I love how you get angry, I thought. Taking advantage of his unpreparedness, I kissed him on the corner of his mouth. "Here's the household register. It's up to you whether you want to marry me or not." Hearing this, Liam furrowed his brows. "What? Didn't you say you wanted to marry me? Were you lying to me all along? Let's go." No backing out. Liam's deep voice rang out again as he pinched my face playfully. "Who's afraid of whom? Now that we're legally a couple, Liam, you can't escape me in this lifetime. I end my life. I'll stay with you as long as you don't leave me. I belong to you in life and death." I took Liam's arm, showed a charming and bright smile, and skipped out of the hospital. The bodyguards accompanying Liam twitched their lips hard. They couldn't believe what they had seen. "Miss Winnie, what's gotten into her? Hasn't she tormented Liam enough? Winnie, stop right there." A very cold and stern voice came from behind, thick with anger. I was startled. Although I knew who it was, I had never heard him sound so fierce before. He was completely different from his usual self. I turned around, a bit annoyed. Bro, why are you being so harsh on me? The man in front of me, wearing a doctor's uniform and gold-rimmed glasses, looking handsome and honest, was my cousin, Sam. Sam reached out, intending to grab my hand. Your leg isn't healed yet, and you're thinking of running around? Unexpectedly, Liam grabbed his hand. The strength was so intense, it seemed he could break Sam's arm in the next second. Coupled with his cold eyes that seemed to shoot sharp swords at Sam, Sam broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. Liam, let go. Hearing my words, Liam finally released Sam's hand. Due to losing balance, Sam staggered back a few steps. Strange, why had his silly sister suddenly become so close to Liam? Just a few days ago, she made a big scene at the engagement banquet, forcing Liam to break off the engagement. To avoid marrying him, she went on a hunger strike and even threatened to jump off a building. Now the two were almost like conjoined twins. Bro, I have something very important to do today. Nothing is more important than your life. Be good and go back to bed. You fell from the third floor. There are still various examinations for you later. While speaking, Sam reached out to grab my arm, but I nimbly dodged away. No, this matter is more important than my life to me. Sam shook his head and said to his sister's back with a heartbroken look, Slow down. Be careful not to fall. About 10 minutes later, the car stopped in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau building. I suddenly remembered that I hadn't asked Liam to prepare the materials in advance and hurriedly asked, Did you bring your ID and household register? Uncle Nick, go to the villa and bring me the household register. Liam was stunned for a second and then instructed the driver in the front seat. Henry was a bit confused. Are they going to get married? Before he could react, he heard Liam add, As fast as you can. Let's do it another day. I suddenly felt a bit disappointed. It turned out we had so little understanding. Liam wouldn't miss such a good opportunity and patiently comforted me. It's okay, Uncle Nick is very quick. Let's go take the wedding photo for the marriage certificate first. Okay. I suppressed the disappointment in my heart and walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau with Liam. At this moment, Henry, still in the car, hadn't recovered from the shock yet. Miss Winnie is willing to marry Liam just because of a fall? This move really caught him off guard. Is there something fishy about it? Surprised as he was, Henry was a well-trained soldier. Soon he went to the villa to get the household register. By the time he arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, we had just finished taking the wedding photo for the marriage certificate. Wow, Uncle Nick, you're right on time. As soon as I saw Henry, I excitedly rushed forward and took the household register from his hand. With the household register, we smoothly got the marriage certificate. Holding the still warm red marriage certificate, I suddenly felt a bit sad. Was I married just like that? Sensing the low mood of the person beside him, Liam suddenly stretched out his long arm and embraced me. His deep, magnetic voice reached my ears. Darling, let's go home. I was slightly stunned and looked up. Looking at his good-looking face with a charming smile, he exuded the charm of a mature man, which was really captivating. After being stunned for several seconds, I said, no. Fascinating as he was, I couldn't abandon my principles. Although we had already got the marriage certificate, Liam was an indispensable bait for my subsequent plans. I'd just have to endure it for a while. Liam's smiling face, once as warm as a spring breeze, suddenly turned furious, like a frozen river, in an instant. You could feel his coldness from afar. Sure enough, there was another purpose for Winnie to marry him so readily. Without a wedding, it didn't count as a real marriage. If I live in your house without a proper status, what am I? Seeing the situation wasn't good, I muttered. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of anything except being locked up in a dark room. I'm waiting for you to come and marry me with a grand procession and a splendid dowry. As soon as the words left my mouth, I boldly stood on tiptoe. In the next second, Liam reacted and kissed me on the lips. I had originally just wanted to give a quick kiss and run away. How could Liam act like a rogue? Liam sensed I was trying to retreat as soon as our lips touched. His deep eyes darkened. He reached out and grasped my head promptly, hugging my soft body tightly in his arms. Do you think you can run away after flirting? Liam murmured in a low voice. His passionate kisses came like a storm, so intense they made me breathless. I couldn't help but wrap my arms tightly around his waist, feeling like a believer who received a summons and couldn't resist him. Once in contact with him, it was as if I had been enchanted and could only be mesmerized by him. Was it really okay to kiss in public like this? Henry, standing by, also felt their sweetness and couldn't help but take out his phone to snap pictures, keeping the evidence. After a long while, Liam finally let go of me. He reached out and stroked the hair beside my ear. A bright smile as beautiful as a flower bloomed on his face, quickly spreading across his features. When it reached his eyebrows, the smile gradually faded, and the corners of his mouth slightly lifted, the dimples at the edges filled with a lingering sweet color. Although Winnie married him with another purpose, now that she had fallen into his hands, it wouldn't be so easy for Winnie to back out. At the engagement feast, he had intended to set Winnie free. Now he wanted to play a different game, taking this little wildcat home and taming her slowly by his side. Wouldn't that be an interesting thing? I slightly lowered my head. A beautiful blush appeared on my cheeks, shining with extremely happy smiles, just like a sunny day after a storm, with bright and beautiful clouds hanging in the sky. Wait, suddenly I thought of something. I looked at Liam with a rather serious expression and sharp, scrutinizing eyes. Liam, listen carefully. That was my first kiss. I've already stamped you as mine, and you've responded to me. From now on, you're mine. You're not allowed to be touched by other women, and you're not allowed to touch other women either. I seriously warned him. In my past life, I messed up the grand wedding he had been preparing for. Moreover, I also lost the only heirloom his mother left him. That's why Liam was so angry he kissed me forcefully and said to me, "Winnie, listen carefully. I've already stamped you as mine. From now on, you're mine, and you're never allowed to look at other men again." The lingering kiss just now made me feel so sweet, and I liked it very much. Liam sneered silently. This girl had actually stolen his lines. Previously, Liam tried his best to hold on to Winnie. The more he wanted to keep Winnie by his side, the more he used both threats and inducements. Instead, it made Winnie afraid of him, and even more convinced that he was crazy. In the end, she tried her best to escape from him. Actually, it's not strange at all that Winnie liked Daniel. Although Daniel wasn't that good-looking, he knew how to charm people, was wealthy, and had a sense of humor. How could girls not like him? As for Liam, he was born cold and ruthless in his actions. Ordinary girls didn't dare to get close to him. In the past, he hadn't thought it through carefully. He said he wanted to marry her without giving Winnie any chance to understand him. Now he had married the man he had dreamed of, but unfortunately, he couldn't be sure of Winnie's feelings. After experiencing the previous tragedy, if she told him honestly that she loved Daniel, he could let her go. Yeah. Seeing that Liam seemed to have something on his mind, I pinched his ear. "What? Are you hesitating? Darling, that was also my first kiss. I'll only belong to you from now on," Liam said gently, but his heart twitched painfully. In the living room of the Winnie family's villa, I excitedly pulled Liam in, feeling extremely happy. Selena saw that Liam and I came in hand, and Grace had secretly brought the household register to her this morning, so Selena understood what was going on. Even if her daughter didn't say anything, Selena pretended to know nothing about it. "Winnie, why are you back? I was just about to bring you some food since you're all better now." I walked around in front of my mother a few times to prove that I was really okay. "You fell from the third floor. How could you recover so quickly? I didn't want to stay in the hospital anymore. There was no one to accompany me. It was Brother Liam who stayed with me all night yesterday." Oh. Those who show off their love will break up soon, Mom." I lowered my head shyly, with charming blushes on my face. "Liam, stay for dinner." After saying that, Selena turned around and walked towards the kitchen, starting to get busy, not giving Liam any chance to refuse. "Ethan, you're quite something. You have a high position in my mother's heart," Selena nodded. "Naturally." After dinner, for some reason, Selena, taking the excuse that Liam had drunk a lot of wine, strongly asked Liam to stay and take care of me. I was so angry my face turned purple. How could a mother push her own daughter into the fire pit like this? Didn't she know what it meant for them to stay in the same room? Just then, Mia came out to persuade her. "Mom, it's not appropriate for a man and a woman to stay in the same room. It's probably not right to let him take care of Winnie, right?" On Selena's still charming face, she frowned with dissatisfaction. Their marriage is a sure thing. What's inappropriate about it? Mia didn't dare to say anything immediately. Although she was the eldest lady respected by everyone in the Mia family, since Selena didn't like her, she could only always act weak to hide her scheming and plots. However, looking at the half-drunk Liam, Mia suddenly came up with an idea in her mind. Perhaps tonight was an excellent opportunity. As soon as Selena left, Mia pulled me aside and whispered, "Winnie, are you really going to stay in the same room with him tonight?" I pursed my lips and said reluctantly, "I feel sick just looking at him. If it weren't for not wanting to make my parents sad, I wouldn't pretend to be nice to Liam. How about this?" Her face seemed to have already thought of a clever plan. I planned to turn her trick against her and fight fire with fire. The grudges from the previous life would be repaid in this life. It didn't matter. I'd settle them one by one. At 11 o'clock at night, while chatting happily with my mother, we heard noises coming from her room. The whole family was awakened and rushed to check one after another. When they pushed the door open, they saw Mia sitting on the bed, wrapped in the quilt with only her head exposed. Her aggrieved tears were rolling down her cheeks like broken beads. Her face was pale, and her whole body was trembling constantly, making people feel very sorry for her. Liam was standing beside the bed, his brows tightly furrowed. The annoyance in his heart made him more and more impatient. At this time, the servants gathered around began to whisper among themselves. "Miss, couldn't she have been with Mr. Liam? I didn't expect Mr. Liam to be a beast in human clothing. He's already engaged to the second miss, but is flirting with the eldest miss. I heard that Mr. Liam is a sadist and has to rely on medication to control his animal instincts." It seems it's really true now. Seeing this scene, a fierce anger burst out in my chest as if I had been stimulated. I slapped Liam and said, "Liam, you better explain this clearly to me." "Shouldn't she be the one to explain?" Liam pointed at Mia, who was hiding under the quilt with only her head exposed, like a cheetah ready to pounce, full of powerful and dangerous murderous intent. Mia was trembling under the quilt. Except for shaking her head, she refused to say a word, pretending to be extremely aggrieved and frightened. "Liam, don't tell me that my sister wanted to sleep with you. Isn't it obvious? Everyone knew that Liam was staying in this room tonight, but Mia secretly climbed into this bed." "What does that mean?" Slap. Another slap. I angrily slapped him again, with tears in my eyes. A crisp, slapping sound echoed in the air. Liam neither dodged nor blocked, looking as if he was innocent and didn't need to explain. Suddenly getting married to him by getting the marriage certificate, this was the trap waiting for him. "Liam, are you still trying to argue?" I was so angry I pointed at Liam's nose and scolded him. Looking at the two people whose argument was getting fiercer and fiercer, Mia, hiding under the quilt, had an almost imperceptible smile at the corner of her mouth. This was exactly the effect she wanted. Her aim was to get Liam and confirm that they had already had an intimate relationship. She wanted to become the legitimate Mrs. Liam. Unfortunately, she was just one step away. At dinner, Liam had drunk at least a bottle of whiskey and was already staggering when walking. Unexpectedly, he woke up as soon as she climbed into bed. However, no matter what the truth was, in the eyes of outsiders, she was already Liam's woman. Anyway, she must marry Liam. Even if she couldn't win his heart, she had to get him. Just ask her to stand up, and then you'd understand. Liam's cold words were like a blow to Mia's head. She stared at everyone dazedly. Her already pale little face suddenly turned ashen. Tears swirled in her eyes. She bit her lip gently to hold them back from falling. Mia thought that as long as she continued to play the role of a victim, and with her excellent acting skills, if she firmly refused to get up, they surely couldn't do anything to her. Soon she was slapped hard by reality. Soon 2 bodyguards dragged Mia out from under the quilt and threw her mercilessly on the ground. Even though Mia tried her best to curl up her body to avoid being exposed, anyone with a discerning eye could tell she wasn't wearing pajamas at all. To be precise, it was sexy lingerie, almost as if she was wearing nothing. Instantly, there was an uproar and disbelief among the crowd. Mia was lying on the ground, her thin body trembling constantly. I took out a nightgown from the wardrobe and gently put it on Mia. Sis, what on earth happened? Winnie, didn't we agree to sleep together tonight? But we said we'd go to your room. I held back my tears with great effort, looking as if I trusted you so much, but you deceived me, which was really heartbreaking to watch. I saw that you hadn't come over all this time, so I came here. We're both single. I didn't expect that Liam would really stay in your room. Mia's expression was anxious, afraid, and panicked. She hurriedly explained, and her words were a bit incoherent. Little did she know that everything was just her act. In fact, she was calmer than anyone else in her heart. What's done is done. Liam had to marry her whether he liked it or not. Although it was an open era, the Mia family also placed great importance on a girl's chastity. Once they broke it, this incident would spread among all the wealthy families. She was the eldest daughter of the Mia family. Having been insulted for no reason, for the sake of the reputation of both the Mia family and the Liam family, Liam had no choice but to marry her. Moreover, the old master senior had said that whoever could marry the daughter of the Mia family would become the head of the Ethan family. Why couldn't she, as the daughter of the Mia family, be the one? Selena was so angry she almost had a heart attack. She covered her chest with one hand, gasping for breath heavily, and pointed at Mia with the other hand. What on earth were you thinking when you ran into Winnie's room dressed like this? Winnie, you also know that I usually have the habit of sleeping naked. Dressing like this is already... Mia knew it was useless to beg Selena. The breakthrough could only be on me. At this moment, she was the victim. Before achieving real success, she had to endure any kind of humiliation. It was either success or death. There was no other way out. Before meeting Liam, Daniel might have been her Mr. Right. She could tolerate Daniel's two-timing and was looking forward to the day when Daniel would really come to marry her. After meeting Liam, she found a more perfect man in the world than Daniel. Such a man seemed to exist just for her. Winnie didn't deserve to have him. Sis, you clearly knew that I was chatting with Mom. I said I'd go to your room to find you after chatting. I gritted my teeth, and big tears uncontrollably rolled down my cheeks, looking extremely aggrieved. When it came to acting skills, Winnie, was no worse. Sis, I really came to look for you. I really didn't know that Liam was in your room. I think if Liam really loves you, he would never stay in your room before getting married. Mia burst into loud sobs. Her surging tears covered her pale face. She was just like a tragic character who was even more wrong than Doe. The servants present began to sympathize with Mia one after another, thinking she was really pitiful. Although she was at fault, it was understandable. After all, she was a girl. Even if she wanted to seduce her brother-in-law, she couldn't have done such a thing in public. It must be a misunderstanding. Looking at everyone's sympathetic eyes, Mia felt victory was within her grasp. Just when Mia was secretly proud of herself, Selena walked forward and gave her a hard slap across the face. How dare you cry? Everyone knows that Liam stayed in Winnie's room. Couldn't you see it after you entered the room? What's the point of this? Tell me, sis. I trusted you so much, but you actually seduced my fiancé. If you wanted him, you could have told me clearly. I would definitely let you have him. Why did you have to do something that disgraced the family name of the Mia family? Everyone in the Winnie family knew that I didn't want to marry the eldest young master Liam, but wanted to marry the second young master Daniel. I've caused a lot of trouble because of this. If Mia had proposed to marry Liam, it would have been a win-win situation, and no one would have objected. Winnie, don't cry. Liam walked forward and gently wiped away her tears with a heartbroken look. In the past, no matter how much Winnie made a fuss, she had never cried in front of Liam. Now seeing her cry, his heart ached, and he was actually a bit flustered. It's all because of you. If it weren't for you, my sister and I wouldn't have become like this. I suddenly pushed Liam away. Sorry, I had to play the whole act. I'll make it up to you later. Winnie, you regard her as your sister, but she doesn't regard you as her sister at all. Mia wanted to explain, but seeing the intense hatred in Liam's eyes when he looked at her, she couldn't make a sound. I won't allow you to say that about my sister, okay? Then look at this. After a while, Liam opened the video on the tablet. In the video, Mia was swaggering into my room wearing sexy lingerie. Liam, you're mine tonight? That idiot Winnie doesn't want such a handsome guy. No, it's not like that. Mia desperately tried to grab the tablet from Liam's hand, but was pushed to the ground by Liam with force. At this moment, Mia's whole mind was in chaos. Subconsciously, she looked around. Mia knew better than anyone that this video was real, and she had no way to refute it. But somehow, it didn't seem right. How could Liam have installed a camera in Winnie's room? If Liam wasn't waiting for her, then he must be waiting for Winnie. Had she accidentally become a scapegoat? No, Liam loved Winnie deeply. He couldn't have treated Winnie like this. Then there was only one possibility left. Winnie had long seen through her intentions, and this was a trap set for her. Coming to her senses, Mia clenched her fists tightly, looking at Winnie with hatred in her eyes, sparks flashing in her pupils. She hated herself for not seeing Winnie's true face earlier. She had always thought Winnie was stupid and cowardly and easy to deceive, but unexpectedly she had been tricked by her. Just at this moment, Jonathan, who had been silent all along, suddenly spoke up. "Enough! Our Mia family doesn't have a daughter like this." Dad, Mia never expected to see disgust in the eyes of her father, who had doted on her since childhood, as if he had never given birth to her as his daughter. Mia was an orphan. Someone noticed she looked somewhat similar to Winnie, so they had her undergo plastic surgery to resemble Winnie and pose as Winnie's long-lost twin sister. She wasn't well received in the Mia family. Everyone revolved around Winnie. After staying in the Mia family for a long time, she developed improper thoughts. However, Jonathan was the only warmth she had in the Mia family. Only her father would occasionally care about her, give her pocket money, and ask her what she liked. Now she didn't even have that only warmth left, quickly dragging her to the backyard to let her reflect on her mistakes behind closed doors. As soon as the words were spoken, 2 male servants dragged Mia out of the room. Suddenly, Mia didn't know where she got the strength from and broke free from the restraints. When everyone thought she was trying to escape, instead, Mia quickly picked up the fruit knife on the table. By the time everyone reacted, Mia had already placed the knife precisely against my neck. "Don't come any closer, or I'll make you pay with your life." If she was going to die tonight, then Winnie wouldn't get what she couldn't have either. Everyone held their breath as they saw this scene. The cold, glinting knife was now pressed against Winnie's fair and flawless neck. The blade had already scratched Winnie's skin, and a few drops of blood seeped out. "Why are you so partial?" She hated Winnie and wished Winnie would die immediately. If it weren't for Winnie, Mia would be the daughter adored by her parents, the sister loved by her brothers, and even Liam would be hers. "Sister, I treated you so well. Why are you treating me like this? Why are you so partial? I'm also your daughter. Why can't I become the young mistress of the Ethan family? I advise you to let Winnie go, or don't blame me for being rude." Liam wished he could tear Mia apart alive. "You'd better not force me." Jonathan tried his best to suppress the panic and anger in his heart. Mia, although the old master senior announced publicly that he wanted to marry the daughter of the Mia family, he specifically asked for Winnie. Now Winnie doesn't want to marry Liam either. Since you have this idea, everything can be negotiated. Put the knife down first, Mia. Over the years, whatever Winnie has had, you've had too. What else are you not satisfied with? Mia had always been puzzled. Clearly, she was also the daughter of the Mia family. Marrying her could also bring the inheritance rights. Why did Daniel choose Winnie? So that's how it was, and Daniel clearly knew about it but didn't tell her. Instead, he took advantage of her. How nice his words were at that time. He said he was doing it to consolidate her position in the Mia family, so he pursued Winnie. If Winnie was removed, Daniel could not only obtain the inheritance rights of the Howard family, but she would also become the only daughter of the Mia family and the young mistress of the Howard family. There were only benefits and no drawbacks. How ridiculous it seemed now. Unfortunately, originally, none of this belonged to her. The knife was already on Winnie's neck. She had no way out. Selena panicked. "Mia, what are your demands?" "Just tell me. As long as you let Winnie go. Give me 10,000 win. I want cash, and I want it right now." Mia didn't show any politeness. There wasn't much time left for her, and she had to finish this quickly. Jonathan had the habit of keeping cash at home. He could definitely take out 10,000 win. "Okay, I'll go get it right away." Less than 2 minutes later, the butler pushed a suitcase full of money in front of her. Just then, Liam seized the opportunity. While Mia's attention was all on the suitcase, he quickly snatched the knife from her hand and threw it on the ground, then pushed her to the floor hard. The whole set of actions was as smooth as flowing water without any hesitation, before anyone could even see clearly how he did it. I had already been saved by him and fainted in his arms, with a long, narrow cut on my neck. Blood suddenly gushed out violently, spurting as if bursting. Soon the blood dyed Liam's clothes red, and I lost consciousness. Liam shouted in panic, "Oh no! It seems Winnie's main artery has been cut. Quick, go to the medical room." Everyone rushed to take care of me in a frenzy, leaving only Jonathan and Mia in the room. "Dad, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean it." Mia lowered her head guiltily. Based on her understanding of Jonathan, as long as she admitted her mistake, Jonathan would definitely let her go. As long as you admit your mistake, Jonathan would definitely let you go. Jonathan let out a helpless sigh. "Take this money and go. It's impossible to keep Mia in the Mia family now." He had originally thought of letting her stay in the backyard for a while. After things calmed down, everything would be forgotten. He didn't expect that this girl would be so extreme. "Jonathan, are you crazy? She hurt our daughter like this. It's okay if you let her go, but you're even giving her money?" Selena walked in angrily. "Mia is also our daughter. She hasn't made any big mistakes. She just fell in love with the wrong person." "Jonathan, didn't you see that she held a knife to our daughter's neck?" Selena was almost out of her mind. After saying that, she picked up the knife on the ground and walked towards Mia menacingly. Mia sat on the ground motionless, eyes tightly closed, as if she was already prepared. If she died, she would be free. When the knife was just centimeters away from Mia's head, Jonathan grabbed Selena. "Hurry up and leave." Only then did Mia open her eyes. She grabbed the suitcase on the ground and ran outside. Selena wanted to chase after her, but Jonathan held her tightly and wouldn't let go. She could only watch helplessly as Mia escaped right before her eyes. Selena was furious. She frowned and stared straight at Jonathan. "What are you doing? If anything happens to Winnie, I won't let you off." "What are you talking about? Winnie is also my daughter. Of course I'm worried. But we also need to think from Mia's perspective. You've always been harsh on Mia. You didn't even let her sit at the table to eat. Are you blaming me?" "Okay, hurry up and go see Winnie." The two of them came to the ward door and saw Sam walking out of it. "How's Winnie? She's okay. Liam is inside keeping her company. Then I'll go see her." "Can't you be a bit more perceptive?" Selena understood and turned to look at Jonathan. "From now on, we'll sleep in separate rooms." "Hey, no!" Jonathan still wanted to explain something, but Selena simply wouldn't listen and walked away immediately. The next day, brilliant sunlight shone on the crystal-clear glass windows, refracting dazzling rays like gems and shining on my face, which was rather blinding. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw Liam sitting by the bed, looking down at me. Obviously, he hadn't slept all night. "Liam, hug me." My throat was stinging, and I could only make a sound with great effort. Liam carefully hugged me in his arms. "Tell me if you don't feel well anywhere." I shook my head. "Look at the brilliant idea you came up with. You even put yourself in danger." I shouldn't have agreed. I lowered my head, sniffed, and said pitifully, "I didn't expect it would turn out like this. I'm already injured." "Are you still blaming me?" Before I died in my past life, I discovered that Daniel and Mia had conspired long ago and that she wasn't my sister at all. Strangely enough, why would Mia agree to help Daniel? Wasn't it creepy for her to watch the man she loved be with another girl and even persuade them to be together? After a while, my tears soaked his clothes, which surprised Liam a bit. Mia rarely cried. In the past, no matter how angry or aggrieved she was, except when she was locked in a dark room, she had never cried. Now why has she become such a crybaby? She'd cry at the slightest provocation. "Don't cry, I'm just worried about you," Liam said in a flustered manner, his brows tightly furrowed. "But I just want to cry." Liam gently wiped away my tears, his eyes full of indulgence. "When you cry, it makes my heart ache. Be good. Let's stop crying." I nodded obediently. I hadn't realized in my past life that Liam was so good at soothing people and had such a gentle side. "Smile!" Immediately, I changed from a crying face to a smiling one, and smiled foolishly at Liam. I wouldn't refuse Liam's request. If I refused him again, it would make him unhappy and might also cause the fragile relationship we had finally built to collapse overnight. Knock, knock. There was a knock on the door of the hotel. Mia had been waiting for a long time. Daniel walked in with his hands in his pockets, looking very impatient. "What's the rush to find me for? I've been kicked out of my family." Mia had thought a lot over the past few days and nights, still holding a glimmer of hope for Daniel. After all, they were in the same boat, and she had loved Daniel once. Later, she saw clearly Daniel's sinister, cunning, and double-dealing face. Even if she followed Daniel, she wouldn't have a good life in the future, so she had to make other plans for herself. Now she wanted to give each other a chance for redemption. "What stupid thing did you do again?" Daniel also knew what kind of people you both were, so there was no need to pretend anymore. "Why did you ask me to pretend to be Winnie's sister?" Mia hadn't expected that Jonathan and Selena had known long ago that she was an imposter. Not only did they not expose her in front of everyone, but they also didn't drive her out of the Mia family. Jonathan had even protected her in many ways. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in the world. "Didn't I explain this to you before? Why are you still going on and on about it?" Daniel had been really aggrieved in the Howard family. After Liam took charge of the family, there would be no place for him at all. By asking Mia to pretend to be the daughter of the Mia family, he could pocket the properties of both the Mia family and the Ethan family. He was killing two birds with one stone. "You were clearly taking advantage of me, right?" "It was a mutual agreement. How can you say I was taking advantage of you?" Daniel tilted his head and glanced at Mia, with contempt and disdain in his eyes. "Daniel, let's leave here. Let's just pretend nothing happened." "Leave? You don't deserve it." "Don't you even look at yourself." Daniel didn't notice anything unusual about Mia at all and started swearing at her. Seeing that he didn't have any feelings for her, Mia completely lost her mind like a sharp knife that would make the person using it bleed. She took out the knife she had hidden behind her back long ago and stabbed it into his abdomen when Daniel was completely unprepared. Slowly, blood seeped out from the wound, then suddenly gushed out violently, spurting as if bursting. A scumbag like him is a disaster even if he stays alive. Before Daniel could say a word, he fell at Mia's feet. Mia knew she had committed a serious crime and had no way to escape. She took the knife and slashed it hard at her own wrist. A long and narrow cut appeared on her wrist, and drops of blood dripped onto the floor along her wrist. The next day, 2 policemen in uniforms came to the Mia family. "Yesterday, 2 corpses were found in a hotel room by the waiters. We suspect one of the female corpses is Mia. We need you to go to the police station to confirm it," one of the policemen said. Everyone showed a look of shock, clearly unable to accept that Mia was dead. My parents and I quickly arrived at the police station in a car. When we walked into the gloomy morgue, an inexplicable chill rose faintly from it. The forensic doctor lifted the white cloth, and it was indeed Mia. It took me a long time to recover, suddenly widening my eyes in disbelief and hurriedly said, "She was fine just a few days ago." "How could this happen?" the forensic doctor said. "The preliminary judgment is suicide." Suicide. Mia had actually committed suicide. When she held the knife to my neck, she didn't seem like someone who wanted to die at all. She had also taken 10 million won from my parents. She could have lived a carefree life wherever she went for a while. I felt my mind go blank suddenly, completely stopping all thoughts. I didn't even remember how I got home until Liam came in. He looked at my tired little face, picked me up from the floor, and turned to walk towards the room. Only then did I react. "Honey, why are you back so early?" Liam didn't say anything. Instead, he directly carried me into the bathroom. "Taking a hot bath will make you feel better." I didn't react for a moment. Then, when I saw the worried look on Liam's face, I knew everything was over. I quickly threw the hair clip on my head onto the wash basin. My flowing long hair fell down. I kicked off my house slippers and quickly pulled my dress up from the bottom in the blink of an eye before Liam could react. I was already standing in front of him, wearing only a set of close-fitting underwear. Liam stared at me without blinking, as if his mind had crashed and couldn't function anymore. My fair and jade-like skin was fully exposed to Liam's fiery gaze, flawless, delicate, and supple. With a graceful and curvaceous figure, it was almost breathtaking. coupled with my pair of watery, almond-shaped eyes that were narrowed slightly in an alluring way. The charm seemed to come naturally. Liam had always known that Winnie was beautiful and had an impeccable figure, but he had never expected it to be so devilishly captivating that he couldn't take his eyes off me. At this moment, Liam felt his breathing suddenly quicken, his heart beating rapidly, and even his throat felt extremely dry, as if it was on fire. He swallowed hard and was just about to turn around. "Honey, will you help me take a bath?" However, I was one step ahead of him. I put my hands around his neck, looked at him directly with my charming eyes, and my breath was as fragrant as orchids.